COVID hit our area, African Americans were 2 times the rate of our white counterparts.
At the time it was called Black COVID-19, and since then it has evolved to the Black Equity Coalition.
Panel. We know that COVID-19 has disrupted all of our lives, but particularly in our vulnerable communities, in our Black and Brown communities, it has affected us more. It's so important that we know that with this new variant, it is affecting the unvaccinated. And while there are reports out there about if you get the vaccine that you can still get COVID, it is at minimum amounts. And so if you are unvaccinated, you are unprotected.
The premise was for Black folks to get together and say what's happening in our communities. Obviously the work we do encompasses and affects communities across the region, but it's really Black leaders across multiple sectors and fields. And she, I credit her for starting to bring some people together with multiple players. We were actually originally known as the Black Equity COVID Coalition because a lot of our work really focused on COVID. And that evolved over time because we recognize that COVID is just what we say, the tip of the spear, tip of the iceberg in terms of existing inequities across multiple sectors.
Ensure that everyone has credible information so they can make the decision to be vaccinated, and also get the information in a language that you can understand from someone who looks like you or someone that will resonate with you to answer your questions, and also being able to provide opportunities like this where we have it open for you to ask your questions and get the answers so that you can make that decision to get vaccinated.
Very early on, we recognized that the disparities that exist within the Black community and other communities of color did not happen because of the pandemic. And when the pandemic is hopefully dealt with, those disparities will still exist. And so our focus is, yes, how do we really address what's happening, from the pandemic, from an equity perspective, but how do we make sure that in the long term, we're setting up a process and systems and connections to ensure that we're dealing with the issues that will exist after the pandemic.
Shots at the Shop is bringing COVID vaccinations to the barbershop in the community of East Liberty. Come down to Bass Barbershop Saturday, September 18th from 12 to 2. We're giving shots out. Come save your life and your loved one's life.
Looking at the data is important, and then what are we going to do about it now that we identify certain neighborhoods and communities and certain populations that have a high positivity rate or being under vaccinated? What are we going to do about that? That's the question, and that's why the Black Equity Coalition has come together so that we can partner with other entities to develop what we call an intervention to mitigate that problem.
Vaccination is imperative for us to go back to any sense of normalcy that we would have.
The vaccine is so important to offer in our community, and we're going to offer it here at Woodland, Salon, and Jalen, so let's all help each other stay healthy.
We still see disparities in COVID cases, COVID hospitalizations with communities of color, and that's why we're out here today to answer any questions that may help you make that decision to get vaccinated or help you when you're talking to your friends and family. We know that we're coming up on this holiday season and everybody's going to be gathering together, and that is the greatest risk that we have is when you can get COVID, when you have those exposures, and we want to minimize the amount of exposure that everybody has against this disease.
don't waste your life. So to more or less emphasize and echo what Brother Rashad said, is essentially do what? Get a shot and get vaccinated. And we'll more or less expound on the importance and value of getting vaccinated in terms of our community, in terms of the development of our community.
My name is Tiffany Gary Webb, and this is my COVID vaccine story. I'm a public health professional, and so vaccines have been one of the major successes. And so I'm a vaccine proponent, period. So I've always kept up with my vaccines. I get flu shot every year. I get flu shots for my kids every year. But this was a little different in that I had even more excitement over getting this one because it was just such a historic moment. I actually brought my daughters with me to the vaccination site. You know, I said, oh, I'm excited for this historic moment. And they said, Mom, just stop talking about it.
The process when I went over the South Side, it was a seamless process. They took my name, they gave us a card, and then after I got the shot, I would get texts about how I was feeling all through the whole week up until I got the second shot. And I just got my second shot last Tuesday. I get texts almost every day asking me how I feel, you know, am I feeling good? So they're keeping a good account of, you know, how people are feeling. The PR person from UPMC invited me over to get the shots because they were giving people in the hospital the shot. And they're like, well, you're a essential worker because I'm in and out the hospital so much. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I want the shot. And one of the things that I've been doing through the help of these people, I've actually been able to get other folks their first and second shot.
Compared to when it started off as several folks just trying to figure out what to do to what it is today, I think this is just an incredible movement for a coalition of collective, like-minded folks that want to make change in our region. Something that should have been done 40, 30 years ago. There was never any kind of system put in place for Black people in Pittsburgh to know from food. We always talk about food deserts, from small businesses to workforce, public safety, and the environment issues. So you can see what the pandemic has done to especially Black communities, and this is one of the things that we do not want to have happen. What happened in New Orleans after Katrina. Katrina in New Orleans, Black people were moved out and promised all these things, and still to this day, they don't have an economy there that's still benefiting a lot of the Black businesses and residents who have been displaced. We don't want that to happen here in Pittsburgh, so I'm glad to see this coalition is put in place.